We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call. Looks like we have all board members present accounted for. Next is the approval of the consent agenda, which is the minutes from the April 25th regular board meeting.
I move that we approve the consent agenda from the April 25th meeting.
Support.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Public comments. We have some public. Anyone like to make a comment?
You want to stand here?
Yeah, that's fine. You
Okay.
can sort of state your name and
Okay.
let's go from there.
Yes, my name is Jason Kokema. I wanted to introduce myself because I'm a candidate for circuit court this year. And I do have a sister-in-law, Tanya Kokema, up there who works for the school district. But a little bit about myself. I'm born and raised here in Muskegon. I graduated from Fruitport, class of 1989. Pretty much left Fruitport when I was 18 years old and came back when I was 42. In between, went to Michigan State University, then law school out in Detroit, went to Detroit Mercy for law school. By the time I graduated, my first job was actually here in Muskegon. I married somebody from Fruitport, and our firstborn was, he was diagnosed with autism, so we thought that East Lansing would be a good fit. So we moved to East Lansing. Although my first job was here in Muskegon, I'm kind of commuting, staying at home at my parents' on Mondays, working home on Fridays. Whatever it took to make it work. Did that for about 2.5 years, and then I got a job in Lansing doing municipal defense work. So I was assigned cases through an insurance company called MMRMA. That's who insures Muskegon County and the city of Muskegon. A whole bunch of cities and counties all throughout the state. So I had an opportunity to kind of like travel, because every time you sue a county, you have to sue them on their home turf, the county, or you can remove it to federal court. So I got to represent police officers and zoning departments and in a wide range of cases, from employment, there was community mental health stuff, police stuff like high-speed chases and excessive force, jail hangings, FOIA, Open Meetings Act, slip and falls, operation of government-owned vehicle. Pretty much always defended the police officers and the zoning departments, whoever the employees were. Now along the line, I started advocating first for my own son over his special needs issues and just began representing other parents. I had a pretty significant case that went all the way up to the Sixth Circuit called McLaughlin versus Holt Public Schools. It dealt with neighborhood school issue. And ultimately I became a special education hearing officer where I was like the judge in a case between parents and school districts when there's a dispute over an IEP. The system somewhat changed around 2008. There was this SORA, State Office of Administrative Rules and Hearings, and so they switched everything over from hearing officers to administrative law judges. But continued on with my career. About 10 years ago I got divorced and moved back home to Muskegon to start my own practice, and that's essentially where I'm at right now. And I enjoy it. Right now I represent regular people, just regular people, as opposed to, so when you represent cities and counties, they don't have a need for divorce or drunk drivings and things like that. And so, yeah, that's where I'm at right now. I look forward to the campaign, and I'm always available to answer any questions you might have. I do have some literature which I could leave you. But I think that this year, I'm running for Marietti's seat, Judge Marietti. He's retiring because he's turning 70. And I think, I offer both experience with criminal law as well as civil. I get a lot of questions about criminal law. People want to know what I think of sex offenders and how I'm going to treat murderers and sentencing guidelines. But there's a whole other arena out there of claims that the courts do. It's not all criminal. That's discrimination claims and personal injury lawsuits, quiet title, injunctions, breach of contract, civil claims over $25,000. So I think I have I've kind of have a varied practice all throughout the year. For all 25 years, I've always done civil litigation. Criminal law is something I just picked up more in the last 10 years. And this is important because we're losing 2 judges this year, Judge Hicks and Marietti. and they pretty much ran the civil docket. They pretty much did all the civil work. So, you know, I'm very familiar with things, you know, boards of this nature, rules of Robert's procedure, and governmental immunity, qualified immunity, things of that nature. And so I think that plus I understand a lot of the educational aspects, so having been a hearing officer, and I think I'm a pretty good fit for this position of circuit court judge. So I encourage you all to look into it. There's an August primary. They take the top 2 vote getters and they square them off with the general election in November.
Perfect.
And I do have some information which I'll just float along, okay?
All right.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity.
Okay. Is there anyone else that would like to speak?
Sure. I'm Corey Leonard. I live in 815 Tastanabe. I have a 12-year-old daughter who goes to North Muskegon. I've got a little handout for you guys. Hopefully you're all familiar with these questions. If you're not, shame on you. You are board members. Should be aware what's being sent to our children there. So here we are again. I was part of a group called North Muskegon Parents Unite. It was a group that was formed of great parents, very engaged in their kids' lives, very pro North Muskegon, people that are part of the Booster Club, raising money. I would say a lot of the key people that are kind of the backbone of North Muskegon. And we have 58 people, 58 parents that are part of this group. And I think the group got formed, I think, around the time COVID hit, and I think there was some concerns on masking, and we had some difference of opinion on how the school and the board was handling some of that stuff. But then back in the fall of 2021, there was a survey that came out, and there was some concerns on how that survey was handled. It kind of slipped in, or that might not be the best characterization, but it certainly didn't get the parents' approval before it went in. And we were, Kurt and some of the board members were gracious enough to grant us a meeting. I think we were very productive in that meeting. I think we talked about a lot of the parent in our group's concerns. And from that, some positive things happened. Unfortunately, another survey came out today. And the positive things that happened were you guys attempted to let the parents know that a survey was coming out and made available the content of that survey prior. It was you guys sent it out as part of your bulletin, weekly bulletins, which I'm a very engaged parent. I probably read 1 out of 10 that come in. I bet you 10 to 15% of our parents read that. So even though you're making people aware of it, I don't think our parents are aware of the questions that are getting asked our kids. So what I would like to do for you guys today is make public and read some of the questions. I have a 6th grader, so she won't be getting this year, and I did opt out of all future surveys that the school gives because I've lost confidence in some decision making. I don't know who's totally responsible, but I think the content is outrageous, and I'm going to read, and you guys judge for yourself. So mind you, this is a middle school version. The high school version is also is even more salacious. But needless to say, 12 and 13-year-olds are getting asked this question. 14 and 15-year-olds are getting asked these questions, and 16 and 17 are getting asked even more private and salacious questions. I mean, I'm envisioning my daughter looking at this. Have you ever had sexual intercourse? Yes or no? I wish that was the worst one. How old were you when you had sexual intercourse for the first time? I've never had sexual intercourse, A. B, 8 years old or younger. 8 years old or younger, really. 9 years old, 10 years old, 11 years old, 12 years old, 13 years old, 14 years old or younger. When was the first time you had sexual intercourse? How old was your partner? I've never had sexual intercourse. 5 or more years younger than me. So my daughter's 12. There's 13-year-olds, 5 years younger, okay. 3 or 4 years younger, about the same age. 3 to 4 years older, 5 or more years older. How many people have you ever had sexual intercourse with? I've never had sexual intercourse. I've had it with one person, I've had it with 2 people, I've had it with 3 people, 4 or more. Just getting asked of 13-year-olds. Do you drink alcohol or use drugs before you had sexual intercourse the last time? I've never had sexual intercourse, or yes or no? The last time you had sexual intercourse, did your partner use a condom? I've never had sexual intercourse, yes or no? During your life, with whom have you had sexual intercourse? I've never had sexual intercourse, males, females, females and males. My question, the big question on this page is why? Why are we asking these questions of our adolescents, of our minor children? I've talked to Kurt a little bit. We haven't gotten in depth on this. Hopefully we can have conversations after this meeting to get the real answers. But I've already heard some, and I get a feeling some of the answers might be, because it'd be great data to have. I've heard that already. That isn't verbatim what he said, but that is what the Department of Health is saying, that this data would be valuable to have. Okay? Because there are parents who want these questions asked. That's another one that has come up, that there's other parents. My first comment on that is really, and how many? Do we really know how many? This is an opt-out survey. It's not an opt-in. If it was an opt-in survey, we'd really know how many parents really like this. It's an opt-out survey that was sent with bulletins that literally, weekly, these bulletins, there's 15 different subjects. Could easily get missed, easily. So how many of our parents really know this? That's the question. If we shine a bright light on this survey, how many parents really would know? I know Mr. Allen got a lot of emails of people opting out of the survey, quite a few, because our group definitely en masse did that. Once again, the comment, I think those bulletins, all 15 of them on a weekly basis, I bet you there isn't more than 10 to 15% of the parents that read those. So if that's our way to make parents aware, it's a very weak way to make them aware. Obviously, we sent this out. You guys were aware that we had many parents that had issues with this. You guys sent it out today. Do you guys really care what we think? I don't know. I mean, it's questionable. You guys sent it out before we even had a chance to go over it with you and talk to you guys about it. You're our elected school board. You're supposed to be, listening to us, not just the minority, if there is a minority. I don't know who the minority. We really don't know. But I know how we could find out. Let's have a vote. Let's have the residents of North Muskegon, including all parents, not just the residents, parents that bring their kids here to school. Let's have a vote. Let's let them see the content of the survey, and let's vote. If the majority wins, then great. Now, I know you guys can say, oh, well, you can opt out. If you don't like it, you can opt out. But there's a lot of parents. Opting out is not, or not opting out is not consent. I can tell you that, especially when only 10 to 15% of the parents are having an opportunity to really see what's going on here. Or not the opportunity, they all have the opportunity, but the reality is 10 to 15% are really aware of that. I mean, if we are so confident, obviously you're so confident that the majority of the parents are okay with this, because you wouldn't have sent it out if you weren't confident. Let's change the survey to opt-in, like I said. Why isn't it opt-out? Why can't it be an opt-in? Just have all the parents opt in. That's the true vote, right? How many people do you really think would opt into this? Would you opt into it, Steve, with your kids? Would you, Will? Would you, Kurt? I don't know. I guess it depends on how old your kid is, but certainly I'm going to say a very large percentage would opt out. That's my guess. I don't know. The only way to know is let's have an opt-in survey. Number 2, let's have a vote. I already discussed that. Let's have a vote of the residents. Let's have a vote of the parents. Number 3, let's invite ZZM to televise a debate regarding the validity of asking these questions of our youth. Let's see how this goes over when the light of day shines brightly on what's going on here. I don't think anyone's deliberately trying to, sexualize our children. But you know what? The collateral damage of this is exactly what is happening. We're normalizing things that are not normal. Just by them reading it, by it coming from the school. The school, you have authority. When a survey comes in front of these kids, they're going to say, oh, 5 years older, I'm sure my daughter's never even thought about having sex with someone 5 years older or 5 years younger. Why would that seed be planted in any way? Why are we insisting on taking away the innocence of our children? Is that really the school's job? Is it? Is that why we put you guys here? I don't know. I certainly, that's not why I'm here. Now, I certainly have the means to take my daughter out and go to a private school, and we won't be dealing with this. And I'm sure some of you are asking me, why don't you just do that? Because we're part of this community. My daughter has friends here, really good friends here. And overall, this is a great school. But this type of stuff gets me thinking. And I don't think you want people that are really engaged, that really care about their kids leaving here. I don't think you want that. And I'm telling you, there's some really good people that are part of our group here that are definitely considering it, but we don't want to. We want to be part of a community. We want to make that community better. But sending out a survey prior to us even having a discussion on it that you know is controversial, I think was a mistake, another mistake.
Corey, if I could just,
Yep.
like we talked about, you and I have discussed, and you mentioned it, having a follow-up smaller meeting, and I do know that Kurt's been looking at some things and to provide us with some more information on this. So I guess I'd like to recommend that you follow back up with Kurt and/or me on that. And in part, just again, in mindful of, I let you go a little long. Normally it's 5 minutes for public comment.
I'm sorry.
So I know it's easy.
I didn't expect to go this long.
No, I know. Well, it's easy when you're
if
talking
that's something
to, it's easy when you're talking to have it go a little long. So, so if you could, feel free to finish up. But if you could,
I'll make
maybe
it
wrap
quick.
up and then
I'll make it quick. And I do want to say that Will and Kurt have been very open to meeting with us afterward, at least discussing it, depending on if things get addressed. So once again, excuse my passion, but I gotta look, you know, I love my daughter, and I think this school's worth fighting for, okay? So the only thing I wanna say, you mentioned that Kurt's looking into some things, right? And he did tell me that. I'm saying, why didn't that happen before this went out? Why didn't you guys get a copy? And maybe you did, copy of the survey prior to it being sent out. So these questions can be vetted, went through. That didn't happen the first time. And Will, when you met with us, you promised us that these questions would be, or Kurt promised us, questions would be vetted and the school board would be more involved in issues like this, and it didn't happen. So, and unless it did, and you did it. All I'm gonna say is there's a better process to vet this situation. I think we've had 2 mishaps here, in my opinion, and there's gotta be a better way to do it. And I would say, number one, school board should review anything like this. Anything controversial, you guys should be aware of it. I know you guys are busy, you all have lives, but you were elected, and you know, you guys need to invest the time to do it. If not, let someone with kids get on the school board and take your seat. Shouldn't Kurt and Mr. Allen vet the sources prior to the survey being sent out? And that, I'll just leave with that. And I respectfully want to say that I've had multiple dealings with the board. I think the board has been very fair and great. As you know, my daughter had some issues. And by the way, that seems to be going well, and my daughter's thriving, just so you know. And, you know, I don't mean to be here preaching and talking down. I'm just passionate about this, and I think school's worth fighting for, and you are a good board. We just need to be better on some of these issues.
Thank you, Corey. Any other public comment?
Yes. My name is Lillian Sutton. I also have something to pass here. My maiden name is Hardy. I come from a long line of Hardys, and the oldest of the family. I have 7 siblings that have been through the school. I'm an alumni. I graduated in '98 and moved to the West Coast. I married my husband and moved to the West Coast for a lot of years. I just moved back a couple years ago because I have always raved about what a great school this is. And I'm thrilled that our 2 children can be a part of the same school that I went to and spoke so highly of for a long time. And we have a 4-year-old who today took in for some DK test, and she's very excited to be coming to DK at this school. So I just wanted to have a chance to reiterate some of the things that I was concerned about, that surprised me about North Muskegon. During my time at North Muskegon, the school was very supportive of the things that I was passionate about and allowed me to have certain clubs and gatherings that I was passionate about. And I really thank North Muskegon for that because it really shaped as a major part of my life. So I definitely feel like there's a place for that. There are a couple of things that have come up, and Corey, thank you for addressing the survey so well. A few of the parents have made some notes about these events. There's parents here that were able to be here today, and then there's parents that weren't, so we've got notes from them. You can see this first section is about the survey, so you can read some of the concerns that the parents are having. And Corey did a super job of covering that. I just think one of the important things is noting that even if we do give this survey, the data doesn't really come back to any exact kid that might exactly be having an issue. So that's kind of like, if there was really somebody that wanted some help, it'd probably be good to know who that kid was. So that kind of, there's like a missing there. It goes to the district level or the regional level. It doesn't really come back to the school or the kid that needs help. So that's all I'm going to say about that. I will tell you that both items are, when children are asked questions like this and it makes them feel uncomfortable, kids like ours are going to come home and tell us about it, and if they're feeling uncomfortable at school, that makes us wonder, should we send them to school? Or, like I remember when like the shootings were starting to happen and how nervous I felt about even sending my kid to school. Or when we came back after COVID and people were wearing masks and I was kind of nervous about sending my kids to school. As a parent, I really want to be able to trust that you guys are taking really good care of our children while they're here and in your hands. So the other item that was controversial for parents that has come up recently is Unity Week. This happened a couple of weeks ago, and our children came home uncomfortable about some events that had happened that day. And I stated in here, if children are asked questions or experiencing something by another adult that makes them feel uncomfortable, that's kind of on the line of sexual harassment when it's in a sexual context like that. So I just think that that's an important thing to take note of. I know that there are some good things about Unity Week. It grew because of COVID, and we felt like there needed to be more support, which is good. But possibly that opened the door to too many controversial things. As I understand it, the school board did not know the details of what was going to happen during Unity Week. So I will share with you a couple of things that were uncomfortable. First of all, I wish that there was that accountability, that the school board be aware of the things that are happening in the school besides reading, writing, and arithmetic, these extra things. And so the most challenging thing for us as parents was when there was an assembly first hour one of the days of Unity Week, when a particular teacher who's I know well loved in the high school used the platform to explain that she's a lesbian and came out and talked about how her life is and what that is, how that affects her. So that is the issue that made our children feel uncomfortable. And we're pretty open about things like that, but still it was like an uncomfortable thing to have a teacher that you respect talk about her private sexual preferences. Now you see them in a different way, or you're thinking differently. And I just thought, why? I didn't even know that something like this was going on. That was another thing that bothered me, not even knowing that there was going to be an assembly. There were also a few upperclassmen that also stood up and said we're bi, or we're whatever the case may be, sexual things that they were talking about. And the assembly was for 6th grade through 12th grade, which is a huge range as far as maturity and development and sexual needs at that age level. So I just think that should be something taken into account. Hopefully next time something like this would be vetted by the board, and you might be able to say, let's kind of leave those sensitive subjects to the older kids who might actually be wondering about that. I understand that Mr. Byer, the principal, was aware that this particular teacher was going to speak, but he wasn't aware of what she was going to speak. Like, she could have said, I was a tomboy when I was growing up, and I always felt different than others. She didn't have to go into the sexuality of how she's living it out today. So knowing that he was not aware of what she was going to say is kind of troubling, that this could easily happen again, or maybe in her classroom, or maybe in the hall when she's talking to students. It makes parents feel uncomfortable. And just to be fair, it would also, to me, and to many parents, also be uncomfortable if a heterosexual teacher got up and shared the kinds of things that they prefer in their private time. It's private, and I just felt, it feels like the students don't need to be aware of that. And again, like Corey shared, putting sexuality on a platform really starts to normalize things for children at a young age that they wouldn't even normally think about. It creates confusion. Our daughter has a friend who's very young and is confused about what gender she is, and it's just, honestly, at that age, they're not even worried about boys or worried about girls. They're just really confused that they have to pick something. And that's not the kind of environment that we want our children to be raised in. Another downside of Unity Week is that the children who were racially different or in some ways felt different than other kids felt like a token during that week, that they just felt like they had a big blaring light above them. So it actually made them more uncomfortable, the parents that I spoke with, rather than more comfortable. So there was a missing there. And there were good things about Unity Week, but there was a few things missing. We didn't like that our children were given a chance to look at these kind of like booths that were set out during they had some food trucks and some booths one day. Food trucks were awesome, and I would be happy to come to that next time. But the booths were not awesome. They had Planned Parenthood, they had the LGBTQ club, and things like that. So my children are coming home with things that that's not what we believe in our home. And the bottom line is, of course, we're open, and we teach our children to be open and accepting of others. We have friends that walk in different lifestyles. We think it's very important to have a wide variety of different types of people in your life. But as far as personal beliefs, I believe that needs to stay at the home level, or within their family, or whatever level that is. When it comes to politics or beliefs, we don't want that like preached at the school or forced at the school. We want that part to stay home. So we're just simply asking in the future, and I do know that there's a meeting Wednesday night for that Unity Week, kind of like a debrief, what went right, what went wrong. I'm aware of that. But I just ask in the future that these kinds of events that are kind of like outside of the curriculum just be made very, very, very clear to the parents. We're going to be having Unity Week, which obviously had some planning going to it. Here's the things we're going to have. We're going to have an assembly, we're going to have food trucks, we're going to have this person speak, that person speak, so that if parents like myself, and I know that there's a lot of us, want to take our kids out for the day or do a field trip or something different by ourselves, we can have that opportunity. So that's all we're asking. Again, I love North Muskegon. I still believe that we've got the best academics, a superior music program. My children are thriving here, and I don't want to have to leave, but that's for the first time ever. I can't believe it, but we're looking at what the options would be if the school continues on this course, and I know I'm not the only parent. I know a handful of parents that have already made the decision not to send their kids to North Muskegon, and they live in this community, and they have really cool families. So I just wish that the school could stand up to a higher standard and attract those families. That's all I have to share.
Thank you. Can I just add something? I'm Chad Sutton. I'm the parent. Oh, you don't?
That's okay. That's okay.
I just in support of Corey, and of course my wife Lillian. Why would I not? You know, the fallout becomes, you know, our daughter who's 10 and our son who's 12. There's things that are introduced in their world now that they didn't know that they should even be thinking about or considering. And you know, that's challenging for us at home. And I think probably the biggest thing I want to communicate is, you know, we know that you support the kids. We want to feel your support as well in these types of endeavors. And one of the reasons we moved here is because this is, to me, it's a storybook town. It's school. It's small. We made a decision to move here. One of the primary reasons was the school. And I just don't feel like we have to compete with what's happening out in the world or politically. That we're just really looking for basic, you know, education, college preparedness, and, you know, employment preparedness, that kind of thing, to be productive members of society. So it's not as though I want to throw stones at somebody that has a different lifestyle than mine. I don't. I just don't know that you know, I was in a camp of the kids went to school. They needed a chaperone on Wednesday night. 12 years old. I was in the. And the thought occurred to me, now if I sat with these kids because I have influence and I'm there as a chaperone and said, hey guys, how's it going? How many times have you had sex so far in your life? And, you know, how many partners? And do you drink alcohol before? Any of that? Or have you decided which sex you want to be? You know, that kind of thing. Yeah, I would be probably in jail. You know what I mean? I would be ostracized. It just wouldn't be fair. People would be looking at me saying, what the what? And so how much more so the platform that you guys are you know, they're looking up to you. So every little thing that you say or don't do, and I'm not suggesting that we don't love everybody. We teach our kids to love everybody. We're not, again, out there on any kind of crusade. But some of it is just not age appropriate. So.
Okay.
All right.
Sorry about that.
No, that's totally fine. So I'm Julie Reynolds, and I have 2 kids that graduated from North Muskegon, so I don't currently have any kids in the district. And I really wasn't planning on coming tonight, but I was asked to do so, so I said that I would. And I wasn't planning on talking either, but I do feel like I need to support these 2, and Corey as well, and I know that they are speaking on behalf of many parents in this district. I talk to a lot of parents that still have kids in the district, and unfortunately, just because of the nature of the community and the smallness, they don't feel like they can speak up. And
Yeah.
it's unfortunate. And you know, and I've been there because my kids were in school, and there's a lot of times where you just don't feel like you can say something because you don't know if your kid's going to be called out in school, or if they're going to have, you know, the only teacher that teaches this subject, and now they're going to be, you know, singled out for that, or it embarrasses them. Some kids have told their parents, you know, just don't say anything because I don't want to be singled out for this, you know, even though they might not agree or the parents don't agree, and the parents are fired up and they want to say something and they can't because their kids are in this school system. And, you know, and it's terrible. It's a terrible place. And, you know, I was talking to a mom and she's still got 3 kids in the school system, and one's about to graduate. And she's like, I'm just biting my tongue until I can get my child to graduate, and I'm seriously thinking of pulling my 2 kids. They're still in the district, out of the district, and sending them to West Michigan Christian or somewhere else. And a lot of parents are actually turning to homeschool now. And the sad thing is this stuff is, these surveys and the sexualization of our kids is happening in Whitehall, it's happening in Mount Shores, it's happening all over the country. And it's introducing things that are not age appropriate, not school appropriate. And we're not trying to say that some people are bad and some people aren't bad. And it's not that, and it's not that people don't want to be tolerant. It's that it doesn't belong in school. And it doesn't belong in elementary school. And it doesn't even belong in middle school. And you know, I used to be a teacher, and I was in education. I was in school systems in various schools for over 13 years. And you know, teachers have always told kids that they are welcome to come and talk to teachers if they have something personal they want to talk about, something they feel uncomfortable about. You know, if their parents are abusing them, something's going on at home. And you know, and I've experienced that. I've had kids come to me and they want to talk, and you know, there's counselors there and there are resources there to help those kids. But sending out surveys under the radar so parents don't know about them, which is what's going on. And it's being done in a way that parents are not aware. And they are becoming aware, and they're not happy about it. And some parents are supportive of this, and they think it's A-okay, but you know, when a lot of parents are not, and it's so divided, I think there needs to be another way. Because it's angering a lot of parents. It's going to turn them away from this district. And this is a great district. It's a great school, it's a great community, we have great teachers. We have great families here of all different kinds, and it's great to be diverse. But it's not okay to sexualize our kids in class. It's not okay to send out secret surveys that parents aren't going to be aware of. And I totally agree with the opt-in instead of opting out. Because right there it makes parents pay attention. Not all parents can come here. Not all parents can, you know, go to the school and volunteer. They're working. So I've probably gone over my 5 minutes, so I'll stop there, but I did feel like it was important to support them because it is a community-wide issue, and it is bigger than what you're hearing and what you're thinking.
Thank you. Any more public comment? Thank you all for coming, and we certainly, as we've mentioned before, appreciate everybody's support for the school and your passion for your kids. I definitely want to pass that along, and like I mentioned, certainly can look toward setting up an additional meeting.
Cool.
Okay. Alrighty, next, committee reports, finance.
We met just prior to this meeting, kind of a light agenda, reviewed all of the April financials and credit cards, April reporting, and then we also, I briefly covered the MAISD annual budget meeting that I participated in via Zoom a week and a half ago, I think it was 2 weeks ago, which is on our new business today. We will be voting to approve the resolution for MAISD.
Thank you, Steve. All right, next we have a presentation.
Yeah, we got Mrs. Cobb here with us. One of the positives that did come out of the craziness of COVID was an opportunity to work more closely with Baker College and their nursing students, and that has kind of morphed into it started out with them helping us getting kids back into school and just some extra hands and eyes and helping with some safety things. And now we actually are partnering with them on a lot of different levels, including our mindfulness efforts. And that's what Lisa's going to talk about today. And Kelly Martin, I just want to put a plug in for her from Baker. She has been amazing. Anything we throw at her, she says yes, and we just figure it out. So, my hand
Yes,
off.
so Kelly, hello everybody. Kelly was supposed to be with us and couldn't be with us tonight. And then Tanya, as you know, is one of our 6th grade teachers who spent last week at 6th grade camp and then came in today and dealt with a bunch of stuff, and she is exhausted. And so she has to be excused. So I'm going to wing everybody's parts, but this is actually a really slow, not slow, short presentation.
Other one.
Bottom one?
Well, bottom area.
Oh,
Yep.
go down. So we know that mindfulness is paying attention in a particular way, on purpose, in the present moment, without judgment. And so we've been teaching some mindfulness stuff, which really could be called self-awareness, which is really a part of our 3 tiers of support. So all school districts, including North Muskegon, use multiple tier systems of support, which has an academic side and a social emotional learning side. There's all kinds of data to support that if kids aren't regulated emotionally, then they're not going to retain any information that'll help with their academic progress either. So mindfulness is a universal tier 1 support, which is 100% of our students. Tier 2 supports for academic and behavior are about 20% of our students, and then Tier 3, academic and social emotional learning, are like 10% of our students. So all the classes have an opportunity to glean some information for social emotional learning, and then as students have more and more individual need, then they can talk to guidance counselors, social workers, and then if we get up into Tier 3, there is more, even more individualized supports working with outside agencies and things like that. So with the parents here, just so you know, parents are able to participate in knowledge, and if only, how many people did you say are reading the newsletters?
10 to 15?
Jeez. So only 10 to 15%
I
are
don't know
reading the
that.
mind.
That's
So I
like
encourage you, if you don't want to read anything else, read some of the articles about self-care. So Castle comes out of Chicago, and it's an initiative that is for sure all around the United States, but is really part of the planet. Now we know that there's so much going on. Kids inundated with, I guess we could debate where it's all coming from, but we for sure know social media is impacting kids differently than we ever were. So they are hearing and seeing things that when we were kids, we had to go out of our way to find, and it's pretty easy for them to find it. So we try to help support them in self-awareness, how to manage themselves, responsible decision-making, relationship skills, and social awareness. Now, you guys said, as parents, your kids come home, and naturally you're doing a lot of this stuff with them. There's a lot of kids that come home and they don't have somebody to model appropriate behavior. So we take the opportunity to use services like mine as a social worker, and I went through 2 years of training through Mindful Schools out of California. So really feel very well versed in how to integrate some of this into the classroom, schools, families, and caregivers, and out into our communities in general. So this is really good stuff that, again, we know I could talk for 6 hours, and oftentimes I do, about how the brain and the body are connected. So if our kids don't feel emotionally or physically safe at school, real or perceived, they can't think. And we know that. If we go to work and we've got something going on, or an employee that we don't get along with, and we're sitting there, we're not paying any attention in our meetings. So the cool part is we were doing this, and then, like Kurt said, we started to roll out, like, how can we get it into the classrooms? again, it's about self-awareness and self-care. So we had started some Mindful Monday, school-wide lessons presented by pretty much myself, and we played a video that kids could learn about all of those different areas of social emotional learning. Well then, in comes COVID and in comes Baker, and they're here taking temps and helping us test kids for COVID and all those things we had to do. And in conversation with Mr. Allen and Dr. Babcock said, well, this is the part where I'm going to start stuttering, because this is what Kelly was going to do. In their Baker program, now mental health and wellness has to be part of the medical model, which I think is fantastic. So they had 28 mental health nursing students that helped us come up with presentations on Monday, every other Monday, and then on every other Tuesday, that group would come in and meet with Mrs. Kokoma's sixth graders. For 4 hours, they would come here and they would meet with the classes and they would talk about the video. And so they did cool things like blowing bubbles that are like your thought bubbles and things like that. And so they would just take a little bit of the classroom time, and Mrs. Kokoma just embraced it and used it, kind of tying into all of their day-to-day learning. So we used the videos, and they came in and they talked, and the kids just loved it. And to watch them be able to talk about their own self-awareness was fantastic. So this is where she was going to be really specific. Second level BSN nursing students have to do this. They have to learn how to advocate for mental wellness, develop therapeutic communication skills, perform assessments in mental health, teamwork, collaborative opportunities. So what was cool, the best part that the kids liked is to hear from the nurses like what their specialty was. So somebody might be like, I want to deliver babies and I want to work with the elderly. And then they would talk about their own personal practice and how they realized, because a lot of them are maybe married, have their own kids, have another job, and so they talked about how the practices helped them. And so the kids loved to hear that. And we at Baker benefit from the collaboration. The Baker students are entering their pediatric rotation next and have realized all of the medical model. I know DeVos Children's Hospital, different places like that, are teaching kids about breathing and how the mind and the body are connected in your physical healing. And that was really fast. And I think that was it. And then we always end with, sometimes I wish for you or may you, but this is the part, if I forget to do this with kids, and even when I teach this to adults, wishing for each other. I wish for all of you to be healthy. I wish for all of you to be happy. I wish for all of you to be peaceful and safe and to have joy in your life. And if I forget to do this with the students from elementary all the way to high school, they remind me. And if a student is absent that day, they send kind thoughts to the student who is absent. So it's a beautiful day. Any questions? I know that was really fast.
I just, if Kelly was here, I think she would echo that this is a win-win. When we first started, we didn't really know where it was going to go, and everything we've tried, this is just a piece of it. They have students that volunteer in the elementary, the middle school, high school, to do all kinds of different work, including in the health classes, but just excited to see where it might go. So I just wanted to highlight it in front of the board, at least this piece of it. But hopefully we'll have more of these.
Thank you, Lisa. Any other questions? Okay, onward. New business. First is the approval of the MAISD annual budget resolution, which is in the packet there.
see what, yep, this is a thing that we do annually. Steve, I don't know if
Right.
you wanted to say anything about it.
Yep, alls we are doing is giving our recommendation for approval to MAISD's budget. I apologize, I left I got a big packet of stuff and I left it at home, but I recommend we approve as we always do. And therefore, I would motion to approve the MAISD annual budget resolution.
Support.
Okay, any other questions on the budget resolution? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Okay. All right, one of the highlights of the year is the offer of additional probationary status and recommended by the administrative staff. Some updates on some of our newer teachers.
Yeah, and in your packet, you'll see the list that are advancing in their probationary period, and then also those that have reached the time allotment for tenure. As board members know, time grants tenure. However, if there's any things that need to be worked through, that's what we do during the probationary period. So all of the ones on probation are just advancing a year, and then all on tenure are all in very good standing and ready for tenure.
Do we approve this together or separate?
It's set up as
It's set
two.
up separate.
Separate.
I just figured I'd knock them both out.
Yeah.
I move that we approve the continued probationary period for the teachers listed below.
Support.
Okay, I know we have 13 of those teachers, so that's great. It's a lot of nice, good young staff, or newer staff anyway. It's nice to see. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, and next, we've got the offer of tenure to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 teachers looking to.
Go ahead.
All right. I move that we approve the offer of tenure from the teachers listed below.
Support.
Okay, and moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, congratulations to all 18 of those, in particular the 5 that have made it through the whole process and are now fully tenured. All right, next is the first reading of policy updates for February of 2022.
Yeah, all the board members should have received them. Most all are tweaks due to law, and the recommendations of Neola are in the packet. Nothing too crazy, but like what we've done in the past, that you're getting it now. If you have any questions before the next board meeting, get them to us. We'll do the best we can to answer them, and then at the next board meeting, it'll be the second read and also approval. So similar process than what we've used the last several times.
Okay. And so that doesn't need approval?
No.
No, right.
No.
All righty, board comments. Why don't we start? Yeah.
Well, I'd like to thank everybody who came and spoke and letting us know how your feelings, and I appreciate that. I know it's not always easy to do those things, so thank you. Thank you, Lisa, for your presentation. I always love hearing about your mindfulness activities and what's going on in the classroom. I appreciate that. That's it.
So thank you all again, to echo Carolyn here. And you bring me so much joy when you speak. It just makes me very happy. I like it a lot. So my son, who's a junior, was a counselor last week at 6th grade camp. And then my girls had 8th grade Mackinac trip last week. So it's just really great to see those things happening again. Yeah, I think that's about it.
All right. Mary?
I would echo what they both said. I have nothing additional to add.
Well, like I said, I do appreciate you coming, and Lisa, I certainly appreciate your comments. I know one of the things that Kurt and I, just to follow up a little bit on what I talked about, is looking back at some of the history of this survey. I think you said it's been 14 years that's been going out, and I'm trying to find out a little bit more of the background of it. I don't think anybody's brought it up in the prior 13 years, so that is something that we are looking into as well. But other than that, look forward to graduation coming up and some good weather and all those fun things in the future. Steve?
I would also like to thank all of you for coming in and sharing your thoughts with us. Again, it's not easy by any means. Julie, I think you pointed out that certainly understand that kids and parents can feel some angst, and we hear you. So, and we'll follow up. I've already told Kurt and Will that I'd be more than happy to participate in a meeting. And the only other thing I'd like to thank you very much, Lisa, for your presentation. And the only other thing I'd add is congratulations to the folks that made tenure. That's always kind of a big deal for them anyway. So congratulations to them for that.
And this is no, Ben.
Thank you, Brent. Yeah, that's good insight. It's good to hear all sides of the story. So I appreciate that, and thank you for being involved. So please keep it up. Lisa, I've never heard you present before. That was awesome, so thank you. Also, with everything drawing to a close, the 8th grade trip, the 6th grade camp, I was fortunate enough to participate in the choir orchestra trip to LA a couple weeks ago, and that was fantastic. The kids were wonderful. You know, kind of looked at it as like, okay, what am I going to expect here? And it was a lot of fun. So that brings me joy as well as part of the board member. So thank you.
I wish for sunny skies, so for all graduation activities. I'll get up and dance, but I can't guarantee. But Mother Nature better get her act together.
Hopefully it's turned their
And no, and no sprinklers.
Yeah. Yes.
Oh,
that was awful.
I just want to say that I'm not only proud to be a parent, but also the superintendent of a school district that has so many involved, passionate, caring parents. And we obviously won't always see eye to eye as a full community, but we can talk things through, as parents did today, in a very rational way, and make some solid decisions as we move forward. So I appreciate that. And that comes from not only my job, but also being a parent as well. So thank you. That's all I have.
All right. Okay, thank you. Next, we're going to go into an executive session for which we need a motion.
Well, that's right. I should have also added think happy thoughts.
We got you covered.
So I think we need a motion, a second, and then a roll call on that.
Motion to go into executive session.
Support.
Okay, Mrs. B, we'll start with you.
Yes.
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 Yes, yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Have a
Sorry.
good day, guys.
Yes.
What's the plan back there?
We're here.
Tell me what you're